This is a production of KMmedia.pro. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. Our goal is simple: to explore evolving ideas one conversation at a time. So come on over into our world. I know you'll like it, because on today's show, we get to feature a really talented young lady that is going to be talking to us, and she is an intuitive consultant, and she works with a group called Soulful and you can go to her website, which is soulfulworkconsulting.com. I have to calm down because yesterday or Friday's show was very interesting. Eric, thank you. I want to publicly thank you, sir, for doing what you did on Friday and making the show sound as good as it did.
Oh, well, no thanks needed. I mean, we sometimes with live radio, things go slightly askew, but I think we did a fine job of, continuing the hour, even when our guest was unable to connect for, a
A
portion of the program.
sizable period of time.
Stuff happens, as they say.
It does indeed, and I learned something valuable, so I'm going to provide you in the future with a backup, so just in case something like that happens again. But we've got a great show for you today. I'm really, really excited about this guest. By the way, Eric, I always talk to you about the weather. What's the weather going to be like this week? Are we going to be okay?
Looks like it's getting hot the next few days. We're going to be in the 80s. So, yeah. So hopefully you got some AC or a place to cool down.
Exactly. And maybe a little kiddie pool in your backyard. That would be fun.
Hey, there you go.
That's exactly right. So thank you again. I want to just thank you from the bottom of my heart. You made me sound better than I deserve to on Friday, and I appreciate it.
All good.
Very good. And our guest today, her name is Rachel Horton White, and she is a good friend of another friend of the show. His name is David Newkirk. He's been on the show before, and he's really, really is a exciting guy. And so, Rachel, are you there?
Hear me?
I'm looking. Oh gosh, thank you. You have to understand, she's here now, but you have to understand that on Friday we did a show and I did exactly that, and she disappeared, and so we had problems getting her back and all that. But Rachel, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm awesome, thank you. I'm really excited to talk to you because you are what I would call a very learned person in your work and what you talk about and how you help people. And that is so cool.
Thank
And
you.
you've got a master's degree and you've got a bachelor's degree. You've got a degree in hypnotherapy. And I could go on, and it's going to take a while to read your bio, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if you want to go to look at her bio, soulfulworkconsulting.com is where you go.
Yeah.
And very good. Welcome. How are you?
I am fine. I just went to see my daughter dance performance in this homeschool program she's in, and went to the grocery store, and then now I'm here.
You mean a highly intuitive spiritual person like you has to go to the grocery store?
Yeah, right. I know. No, I just float around in 5D and manifest things instantly. If
Yeah,
only.
I
If
would have
only.
thought that you just manifested and it shows up at your door exactly the way you
Yeah,
want.
not yet. Maybe that'll be, 50 years from now. Maybe in my lifetime. Who knows?
It might, well, with AI, who knows? It could happen.
Oh yeah. Well,
tomorrow.
staying away from that.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about yourself, if you wouldn't be so kind.
Sure. Well, thank you for your lovely words, and it's just really lovely to be here. Thanks again for having me. So I didn't always do this work. I grew up in Maine, and that's where I am now. And I always sort of had intuitive kind of stuff, dreams that would come true, interesting little, synchronicity experiences. But it was always just those things were just kind of on the side, and I kept them separate. I went into nonprofit field. I lived abroad in West Africa. I lived in Mexico, and I really wanted to give back to people from, people who would help me. So I worked a lot with refugees and immigrants for a while, and then got very burnt out. And in that time, I got married to my wonderful husband and had 2 kids. And when I had my daughter, who's now 8, and my son's 11, I was just so stressed. I was just couldn't. I just didn't. I didn't have enough time in the day to work a full time job and be present with my children. And so I hired a life coach who I'd never heard of. And she said, "You need to start meditating and connecting with something higher than yourself again." And I did those things because I was so desperate. I knew I couldn't just go to another job, like different jobs I'd had. And so that's when all these things started happening. I remember the phrase Akashic records just came to me in meditation. I had no idea what that was, but I just wrote it down. And now I do Akashic records readings all the time. Um, anyway, I started just experimenting with different ideas and thinking about different ideas around, metaphysics and what is reality and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I started thinking, am I going insane or am I awakening to something, deeper, than myself? And I really started just connecting in with what I like to call my higher self. And so I wanted to share this with people, and it helped me feel better because I'd always gone on and off throughout different periods of depression throughout my life. And really it was meditation that was the big change that I learned to just, I have to listen to these mean thoughts in my head that tell me I'm not this or I can't that, something called the ego that I had never heard of before. And so I started this business, Soulful Work Intuitive Consulting, teaching people about meditation. I was going into workplaces, and then I started going way down the rabbit hole, started learning about angels and communicating with angels. And I started doing one-on-one sessions with clients. Then I went back to school and learned hypnotherapy and learned how to read the Akashic records. And now I actually teach people how to read the Akashic records. I wrote a book last year. This is almost 8 years ago. So all these things happened in 8 years. Um, so I do hypnotherapy, past life regressions, life between life regressions, taking people into the spirit realm to meet their soul groups and connect with past lives. That's what I recently started doing, and I just love it so much. So I homeschool my kids, and we live in a homestead in Maine. So a lot of this, life is one I've created, I've visualized, I'd thought about for years. Didn't think I could ever have. And I just feel very blessed to be able to share what I love and what's really changed my life with other people, which
One
is
of the
why I'm here.
reasons, absolutely, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you here is because what your story is, and over time, I've been doing this since 2003, and over time, I have interviewed a ton of people whose story is very similar to yours. And I honestly believe that all of us, at one point in time or another, d- reach a point where we decide that what we are doing, not what we're being, but what we are doing isn't working. And so we need to decide that we want to be something different.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. And that's what you have done. And now you're so profound at it that now you're helping other people who are going through the same things. And I think that's a universal concept. Do you?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think actually my mother-in-law said this quote, and I actually put it in my book that, people only change when it's harder not to change than it is to change. And I think, that's kind of a mouthful the way I just said it, but I had gotten to the point where I didn't know what else to do. I was grinding my teeth at night. I was crying. I was angry, just all kinds of these emotions. And I knew I just couldn't go apply for another job. I just couldn't do it. And because I'd been through enough. I was kind of a hopper for a little while, but um and I didn't, and it was tough financially in the beginning for sure. Starting a business, it was scary. I quit my job before I really had any real source of steady income, but I couldn't do it anymore. And I just said to my husband, I don't care what it takes, but this is my life and I can't live like that. I cannot live like this anymore. It was sucking my soul. Like, and it wasn't that bad, but I was so stressed. And so I think we do have to reach that rock bottom place sometimes before we start to make those changes, which are hard and which are scary, that
And
we often avoid.
not only that, you're unemployed and you have family and friends that are coming to you saying, Rachel, are you sure that you want to do
Yeah.
this? Are you sure this is what you should, and so you have to take a point in time and say, yeah, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do, and
Yep.
I'm going to make it work.
Yep. It's coming out of the spiritual closet is what, and actually I didn't tell my parents. I had started seeing this life coach and I started coming up with a plan, my exit plan from my job, which I was a program director, which was part of the stress because I was supervising people and all this stuff. But I didn't tell them for a few months until I was doing this, I had this plan because I didn't want them to talk me out of it. They would say, "Well, what about health insurance?" Like that was the one
Uh-huh.
thing
Yeah.
they're worried about was health insurance. Like, what? So, but when I got to that place, when I said, when I told them this is what I'm going to do, I was ready and I had this whole, speech prepared and I think they did support me. I think they could see the conviction, and they could hear the conviction in my voice. You could see it in my eyes that I just said, this is what I feel like I'm meant to be doing. And I'm not sure where it's going, but I'm going to follow my heart. And how do you say no? How do you say no? You can't do that. I mean, some people do, I guess, but they didn't, thankfully.
Well, what's interesting about that is everything that you've done since that time has validated what you felt at that time. Is that true?
Yes, I think it is. I think whenever we take risks and share who we really are, there's going to be some people who don't like it. And when we share our truth, and that certainly has happened to me. It's makes some people uncomfortable, when you're sharing things that maybe most people don't talk about. A lot of people don't talk um about these things, but it also I felt like, that I'm doing something right if I'm pushing people's, worldviews a little bit with some of the concepts. Um, and also that's been a very extreme learning process for me as well, not, hiding in the shadows because I didn't want to be questioned or, I was scared of what people might think. And that I think, I work with people. I actually have this 10-month program. It's called the Intuitive Guide Program where I teach people to start businesses like I have. And that's one of the biggest challenges for them is just to say to people, hey, this is, I'm going to start doing intuitive work, or I have this, I want to do tarot card readings, or I'm going to, start doing life coaching because some people, it brings up this, well, who do you think you are? You think you're special? You think that you know more than me, or, and it brings, that's the ego, right? That's the ego. And I'll tell them, and I went through all those thoughts, and I'll tell them, well, from a higher perspective, we each are here. We've each chosen to incarnate in our human bodies and be on earth at this time, I believe, because we have gifts to share. And you don't know if somebody out there is just waiting to hear what, your specific life experiences has been. And that's exactly what they need to hear at that time. It could even save their life because they don't feel so alone. Oh, this person's thinking something that I've been thinking about, and what did she or he do that helped them, and maybe I can do that too, and it gives them hope. So, but it takes a lot of inner work to get to that place where you can, just kind of, it is like coming out of the spiritual closet. This is who I am. I'm not going to hide it and just keep these things that I think about separate, within reason, not trying to like force it down people's throats, but
Well,
it's,
isn't it
yeah.
isn't it true that I feel like I feel like a prosecuting attorney? Isn't it true, Rachel, that no? Um, is it
Cross-examination.
exactly? But isn't it true that when you start meditating and start contemplating these things in your life, it changes your actual structure and it
Absolutely.
changes your vibrational system
Yes.
and it raises your vibrational system. So what happens is people who are not going through that process and they still have got the same vibrational level that they had, you're no longer compatible with them
Yep.
because you're operating at a wholly different level.
Yes.
And so I have always said, well, recently, I've that that given that you just bless people and say, "I understand," and then you go on
Yeah.
without sacrificing who you really are.
Yeah. That's been absolutely my experience of noticing I have, some of the same old friends, but I have a whole new group of close friends who speak my same language. I can talk to people about, what their kids are doing, about what we're gonna, not that I don't care what my kids are doing, but talk about things that I used to talk about or some TV show I watched or something, but I really don't care about. I mean, I care about my kids, but that's not all I want to talk about. I want to talk about um, you know, expanding consciousness, like you said, and what's it going to be like in the new earth, and how do we meditate and connect in with, with our spirit guides and stuff like that, and um, and I think it is, but it can be a really painful process of, like the grieving process of feeling like maybe we've done something wrong, when you're starting to notice paths are diverging and you're not resonating or connecting with people like you once did in your lives. And I think for some people, that's enough to make them stop because they can see it happening. And I've seen this happen with with clients. You can go backwards because you don't want to move away because what's uncomfortable, what's unknown in our lives, what's going to happen to me is scary to that ego part of us whose job is to try to keep us safe and in our safe place, in our comfort zone. So it is taking a big leap, but for me, and I've seen this also with clients, it's the ultimate freedom when you're living in alignment with what you feel is true for you and how you feel your what your contribution is going to be to the world, and which is really just our unique experience and sharing, this is what helped me in my life. If we all were to do that, I went through this hard time and hey, this is what I did that helped me. Maybe it'll help you. If we were all to do that, I think our world would be so much different. I think a lot of people are doing that now. Um, but
You know,
the vibration is a real, real thing. The vibrational shift is absolutely 100% real.
and I like to kid about it because, and I've said it many times on the show, is that I went through what I call my bad country music song period. When my dad died, my dog died, my wife left, I lost my house, and all of these things stacked up together, but they were part of the growth process. And it took me a while to figure that out, that it wasn't like, woe is me, my wife left, woe is me, I lost my house, I had to declare bankruptcy, I hit a bridge with a truck. I got sued
Wow.
for $50,000.
Oh,
All of these things happen in a short period of time. And rather than just say, oh, woe is me, I'm going back to the way I used to be and go get my job back and whatever, I couldn't do it. I had to continue doing what I was doing. And I think that happens to all of us. Nothing is ever gravy and roses. Sometimes it's a hard lesson that we get to learn, but it's all for our betterment.
yeah. Yep.
In your experience, is that true too?
Yeah. And from the perspective of somebody who looks at past lives a lot, and I spent a lot of time just digging into the spirit world and in the Akashic records. That's why we're here. We're here to learn lessons. And there's this divine law of amnesia, which I like to call it. And this is not just something I made up, but this is kind of like a thing that when we're born, we are not meant to remember why we've come in to why we've chosen our current bodies, why we've chosen our families, why we've chosen certain major life events to happen, which can, like accidents or major illnesses. And that can, and yes, I'm going to say a radical concept that can be hard for some people to grasp. But yes, I firmly believe, and I've seen this, that we choose these major things ahead of time. Not to say everything's pre-planned. There's free will. So, we have, it's kind of both. There's these, destiny and fate, some things that are in our soul blueprint. And then there's, we have opportunity to make choices. And that's where the learning comes in, because it's often, all right, well, I've had many past lives of, for instance, somebody, being abused. And in each lifetime I've been abused over and over and over. And maybe in those past lives, I was angry about that. And I, you know, really, wallowed in resentment and bitterness. and died an angry person. And then I say, okay, after I died, I said, all right, that didn't go so well because I didn't forgive. And how can I learn to forgive even though I've been abused, and maybe I'm coming into that sort of victim mentality. And so what often will happen is then we choose to be the abuser in the next life, and it's all about balance and understanding. And so we might, choose the opposite role. The slave becomes a master, the rich person becomes poor, the son becomes the father, stuff like that. Um, or we might say, I'm going to be abused over and over until I can forgive, or until I can let it go. And so that's where we get into karmic patterns with people in our family and who are off, in our soul group, and they agree to actually play some of those roles for us. I'm going to do this really horrible thing for you to you because this is going to help you learn. And really, it's an agreement we come up with ahead of time. And I find that concept to be really freeing. And I found that at first, well, some people might, have a hard time grasping that. It can be very liberating to see that it's not just this, the world is a horrible place and all these random horrible things happen. Well, that can be true to the point, but that actually we choose some of these experiences to learn from, to learn a lesson. And I find that to be one of the biggest, I hope that more and more people start to see that, because I think that's going to also free us up from a lot of those heavy emotions like guilt and shame and resentment and grudges. And because ultimately it is forgiveness of self and forgiveness of other, leading to unconditional self-love and then unconditional love for the collective, that's going to help us all heal and move into these higher states of consciousness.
Are you familiar with Neil Donald Walsh and his work?
Oh, I think you're reading my mind, because there isn't that I was literally going to say The Little Soul in the Sun. Do you know that? I think he wrote that book.
He did,
And that's exactly what I was just thinking of when I was telling you that. So yes.
he wrote that, and basically the just a real quick synopsis. There's a soul in heaven. Now in heaven, there is no hate, there is no fear, there's just love. But he said, I want to come back because I have this problem with forgiveness. And I can't seem to get past it in my lives that I can actually forgive. And so I need some help with that. And his fellow souls looked around and said, we love you. Why would we want to do anything bad to you? Until one brave soul stood up and said, all right, I love you so much that I'm going to do something horrible to you in our next life together so that you have the opportunity to forgive.
Yeah.
And so that's the story that he wrote. And I see that and I hear that a lot from a lot of people who don't know each other, because it is a universal truth. I'm finding you're finding in the work that you're doing that there be a whole lot of universal truths out there, aren't there?
Yes. And it's this, I think of it like the hero's journey. And I used to read tarot cards. I still do read tarot cards. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there's something called the major arcana, which starts with the Fool and ends with the World. And it goes through, oh, beautiful. You're holding up, is that a tarot card? Kyle Gray. Oh yes, angels. He's
I
the angel guy.
I highly if you ever have the opportunity to get Keepers of the Light, Kyle Gray he's the illustrator and he put this together, and they are oracle cards. It is amazing when you start doing readings with these things. And I didn't necessarily always believe the tarot cards were, but this is like, it's
Yeah.
perfect. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, I mean, I think what I love about tarot and the major arcana is that it describes those sort of archetypes that we all go through. There's, the high priestess, there's the wheel of fortune, there's the tower, which is like a, sort of disastrous hard time. It echoes it echoes the common human experience. It illustrates the common human experience that we all go through, these periods of introspection, which would be the hermit, then coming out into the world, and showing ourselves, which would be the sun. Then we go through we all like the tower, like I just said, that where something really bad happens to us, but we get fired from a job, or like you said, somebody leaves us, or we lose our home, and it seems horrible, horrible. But when we look back, we see that it was good. It forced us to shift. It forced us to kind of make a change, even though at the time it seemed really bad. And that's where these higher sort of forces are at play, soul contract type things, to get us on our path. We have endless opportunities to come back to what what we've set into place for ourselves in terms of our soul blueprint for this life, the lessons we're working on learning. And yes, we go through, I see it with clients, the same sorts of emotions, the same sorts of experiences. We're all, this phrase has been overused, but we really are all in it together, because, you know, we're humans, and we're very similar in the range of human emotions that we can experience, and the lessons and the cycles, the wheel we go through. We feel really good, or actually everything's awesome, and then, oh, okay, it gets to be a little worse. We go to the bottom of the wheel, or but it's all about, and for me, I'm now aware when something's happening, which happened just a few weeks ago. Actually, I had a few things happen, and it was causing me, this month of May, astrologically, it was really rough. I'm not huge into astrology, but I have some astrologer friends, and it was just really intense, all kinds of intense energy. Anyway, and so in those times, and that happened, just recently, even if I don't know why something's happening, and I don't like it to be happening, it doesn't feel good, it's not something I want, I've learned to say, okay, I see that there's something happening beyond my control, but I may not know why, but I'm open to learning. And I'll just ask, I like to talk to guides and angels a lot. I'll just say, can you help me see? Can you help me learn? And so I can move through this, please. Thank you very much. And, and then opening to that, to the learning, is where the magic lies. Then maybe we start to a shift, or we have an opportunity to say, have a conversation with somebody that we've, been estranged from, or we have an opportunity to say a kind word to another person. So much of this is about our relationships with other people and how we interact with them. That's really the power in our learning and our soul growth.
By the way, we're talking with Rachel Smith, and
Rachel Horton White. Close.
what did I say? What is it?
I think you said Rachel Smith. The other different guest.
Hold on. Oh, White.
My other lifetime. That might have been my name. My other lifetime.
Interestingly enough, it says Smith up there, and it says White over here.
Weird.
So I picked 50%, and that's why I don't gamble. I always get it wrong. We're talking with Rachel Horton White, and go to her website, soulfulworkconsulting.com. Find out all about her. When we come back from this break, I'm going to go where I know where a lot of our listeners want me to go. We're going to talk about the Akashic Records, and we're going to talk about the other side, and we're going to talk about what we can expect over there when we get there, and how often we get to come back here. We're going to talk about all of that when we come back. So I hope that you'll stay with us and call your friends. This is a really good hour that can be very enlightening for a lot of folks. So we'll be right back. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio right here on KKNW. Hey, PTR loyal listener. First, thanks for being in my dream. And second, I have a new concept in business to share with you. It's called socialpreneurship. So, what's that? Well, it's the idea that any company designates all profits, beyond expenses, to be awarded to a local or international charity or project which is working to achieve good in the world. KM Media is such a company. We believe that it's important for us to give back whenever possible and to make great things happen. So I hope you'll join us in creating this new business model that will positively impact all of us. In the next few weeks, we will lay out the plan and begin our fundraising efforts. So stay tuned for more details right here on Positive Talk Radio.
When you want to say more than words communicate, You can with flowers. Your custom boutique floral studio in Bothell, Washington is anaturaldesign.com, connecting you to nature through the language of flowers. Where your people are is where our flowers are beautiful. Your success is our goal. anaturaldesign.com at your fingertips today.
Hey, thanks for listening to Positive Talk Radio. Did you know that we're also a media production company? Well, surprise, we are. We can create all kinds of audio, video products to fill any need. Please visit kmmedia.pro/our-store for a complete list of products and services. In addition, do you need a great voice to add to your own website or any other project? I know that we can add depth and quality to your work. I've been told more times than I can count by many professionals in the business that my voice adds to the quality of the presentation. So, let me create something for you. Please contact me at kevin@kmmedia.pro and let's create something great. And welcome everybody to Positive Talk Radio. It's Monday afternoon, and I hope everybody's having a great day. We are here, I can tell you that, because I'm talking with Rachel Horton White, and she is a masterful. If you read her bio, which I highly encourage you to go do, she has done a lot of different things. One of the things that she came by quite naturally, and well, before I go there, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I do voiceover, and I've got other people's that can do them as well. So if you need something done, go to kmmedia.pro, and we can help you make the presentation as good as it can possibly be. So anyway, I'll leave that there. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I started the commercials by saying, thank you for being in my dream. That's not a joke. That is true. That is what my life has been about. And we're going to talk about that and the Akashic Records and your life between lives and how you came here and all that kind of stuff. So, Rachel, you early on discovered Akashic Records, and it came through you via meditation. Tell us about what you discovered.
Well, I wrote it down. I looked it up on the internet, as one does these days, when I heard the phrase, and I learned that it was this dimension of our consciousness that contains information about our souls, about our eternal souls and our past lives, and you can connect with these light beings. And I was like, what? That sounds so cool. So I, of course, went and looked and saw if there's anybody in my area that did Akashic Records readings, and I found someone. I got an Akashic Records reading from her, and I thought it was really interesting. And then I wanted to learn it myself. So I learned from this woman named Linda Howe, who is a well-known Akashic Records teacher. And I learned from some of her teachers she had taught from. I read her books, took a few in-person workshops, weekend-long workshops, and then started doing my own readings, kind of in my own way. And since then, I do that more than anything else. Probably, I do Akashic Records readings all the time. And what I find to be so helpful for myself when I go into my own records and for other people is that we learn about who we are and who we've been, and we learn the truth about our internal motivations and feelings and the effects they're having on other people. We can even learn about our relationships and how other people are responding in our relationships. So it's a place of truth. It gets to the core of really what's going on. And so what the Akashic Records are, the word Akash is a Sanskrit word, which means essentially the substance from which all things are born. And the Akashic Records is also known as the Book of Life, which you can find mentioned in the Bible and in a lot of different religious texts. And it's a dimension, it's a soul level dimension, like I said, that contains information, experiences, events about every human situation that's ever occurred throughout time, mostly on Earth, but also on other planets that can come up as well. And so primarily what happens in the Akashic Records is, feels like everybody has a different experience, but a lot of people experience the Akashic Records. This sounds so funny that when I describe this, is you're probably familiar with Kevin, but maybe some of your listeners aren't. It really does feel like you're going in this majestic hallway, like a library with big golden doors and endless, hallway that goes on forever and in both directions, up and down, and in front of you and behind you. But there also are places that feel like, for me, I see, okay, when I go in and sometimes I'm meant to receive healing, it's over here on my right. Sometimes the deceased loved ones show up in the center of my mind. And I go in when I'm looking at, I'm going to the masters, which are these light beings that I'll talk about in a moment. They're over to my left, all conceptually in my mind's eye with my eyes closed. There's like, it's a container of light, of divine consciousness, some people would say of God, that you're in this sacred place. So and so when you go there, you can feel the energy shifting. And the way I enter the Akashic records is just bringing light through my body, up and down, flowing through my body, and really focusing on my heart. And the heart is the most powerful electromagnetic center in the body. So just when we connecting with our heart, we're opening to this realm. We're raising our vibration, and light also is the most essential way of doing that, to actually connect in with this dimension, which is really, the Akashic records is really a layer of our light bodies. It's not somewhere out in outer space. It's right here with us now. So I do that personally, and I teach other people to do that. And there's a prayer that we read aloud, which I basically created. And the words we say in the prayer, when you say the words aloud, when you're reading them and when you're hearing them, you're amplifying the vibration, and the energy moves upon the spoken and written words. So then we're going to this space, and you're just noticing what happens. You're guided by your heart. It feels like you're kind of in a dream that you're just following, like a lucid sort of dream. And the primary reason that we're there is to connect in with these light beings, which I mentioned earlier. The masters, or they're really a council of elders, and their job is to help us understand our soul purpose, lessons that we're here to learn. So we ask them questions, and they're the same beings that we'll go to in the spirit realm. In Life Between Life regressions, I take people to have their own connection with them, instead of me, saying, being the translator. They're talking to them directly, and they're kind of helping them evaluate their life. Okay, what went so well? What didn't go so well? What do you think about that? How can you learn and grow? And so when we go in the Akashic records, we're getting a snapshot. We don't have to die and go to the spirit realm to do it. We can do it now, to kind of get a little check-in, like, all right, I'm in the middle of my life right now. What's going on? I don't understand why this is happening. Why is this happening? And then images will come in, words will come in. It's hard to explain how it works. You just have to kind of try it to do it. I do talk a little bit about how to go in the Akashic records, and I put that prayer in my book. But what happens, and when I do readings for people, I often see this, is that you feel just seen and understood in a way that is very, very rare. That you feel like you're in the presence of somebody that unconditionally loves you, or these beings that unconditionally love you. They know everything about you, all the things we're not proud of, including those things, and they still love you. And when you're in that place of unconditional love, no matter what, it often brings tears, because it's such a rare sort of sacred experience. And so, then you can look at past lives and see where's the source of a negative pattern in our life, that we don't know why we're feeling this way, or why do we keep getting the same sort of dead end situation. Often it comes from a past life. We can look at the future and see different timelines. And there's usually one that's a stronger, more probable timeline. But of course, we can change that with our free will choices. We can do a lot. Deceased loved ones can come in and say hello. We can receive healing. It's such a gift to be able to go in this place and to help other people access it as well.
And you can do this via Zoom. You can do it
Yes.
and you can do it anywhere, because it's all energy. One of the things that, two things. First of all, I want everybody who's listening to this, who can, if you're not driving, to write this down. Go get Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton. He talks very much about exactly what Rachel's talking about, and your life between lives and how it works. There's Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls,
Yeah.
and please, I have read them backwards and forwards and sideways, and it's very, very important. And the other thing is, I really want to make what you're talking about, because there are people in our audience that are going, she's talking about energy and stuff and vibration. What in the world is she talking about? What is all that woo-woo kind of nonsense stuff? And I want people to understand that it's not. It's scientifically based. It is real. Einstein proved it. Tesla also proved it. Other folks have. It is how we operate on a vibratory level, and it's just the way it is. So it's not a woo-woo thing. It's a reality-based thing. At least that's my opinion. What's
Yep.
yours?
Yeah, I agree, and I think for people who want, facts or things like that, there's a lot of really interesting evidence out there. Of course, there's this other great book, Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian
Yes.
Weiss, which was one of the first books to really shed light on past lives. And there's a few others. Life Between Life, I think Joel Witten, maybe. There's a few others that's an older one.
Yes.
Dolores Cannon wrote about this, doing a lot of hypnotherapy and people who were accessing their past lives to the point where people, especially children, because they were just there in the spirit realm, they just came from source, so their memories are often, they haven't had it programmed out of them yet. um, but there's a lot of evidence of a child saying, I was this person, giving the name, giving the date, and actually tracking down that person actually had lived, and all the information they give is correct. There's a ton of books out there that corroborate some of these claims that people are making, that prove the existence of past lives. And there's, with near death experiences, over and over and over again, people reporting the same thing, going towards the light, being greeted by a guide or a loved one. If they get to the place, usually there's a place where, it's the point of no return. You go past it, you're not going back to your body. And usually they don't get past that, sort of like a gate, and they're attached by the silver cord, and they're going to go back to their body to come tell a story to people about what it's like. But those are all the same sorts of things people share. The Akashic records are, it's a little trickier to kind of prove, I guess, because usually we don't make it, we're not coming back from when we were meeting with our council of elders. They're, have already died, so we're not going to come back. But there's so much that, will come up in the Akashic records that you can't really, you just can't make it up. There's just, how did you know that? Or how did this just, you feel it in your heart. It feels resonant. And for me, that feeling over and over and over, you just start to trust that it's helpful. It feels good. It feels loving. And that's energy.
Well, and the other thing is that even though we enter this life and we bring with us amnesia, because it doesn't serve us well if we remember somebody that was mean to us in a past life. So we have to start from the beginning, and we learn it all over again. And it's important that we do that so that we can get through what it is that we are here to do. And when you're on the other side, there is a and I like to think of it as a script process, by where you are writing the script of how you want your life to go, and who's going to be in your life with you, and how you're going to interact. If you were the mom last time, you get to be the son this time, or whatever it is, so that you can learn the lessons that you yourself, in consultation with your counsel, have determined that that's what you need to do next.
Right. There's no punishment. I mean, some people, with religion, they can feel like, well, why is God punishing me? And it's like, nope, you chose this. You chose it. And that can be very challenging for some people to grasp.
Oh yeah. It's a lot easier if you can blame somebody else.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But if it's your own responsibility,
Yes.
And one of the things I have to tell you, Rachel, one of the things, and I've got a gal by the name of Brittany on the phone. One of the things that I've done in my life is I've gone to certain seminars and certain things, and Brittany and I went to the same one, as it turns out. And one of the things that they talk about after 2.5 days of being in the seminar, and you're talking about why you think this and what your story is about that, and so forth. And at the end of the day, they stop and they say, none of it's real. All of the stories you've made up about yourself, none of it's real.
Mhm.
You're going to have to get over yourself and over that. And by the way, your life is empty and meaningless.
Ouch.
And people, and Brittany will attest to this. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and bring her on now, if we can, Eric. Brittany, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I am. I'm here.
So when you were at this particular seminar, and I'm not going to give the name of the seminar because they may sue me,
Uh-huh.
but when they said your life is empty and meaningless, what did you think of that?
Well, it always hits everybody as a shock. Like, wait, what? As you just said, you spend 12 hours, 2 days in a row going over everything that all the things that you think are good and bad, or right and wrong, or the things that people shouldn't have. Or, I remember a young woman said, I think there are some things that you can't get over. And the program leader was like, short of death, what? What is it? And the thing is, people bring really big things where, if you haven't gone through them, you're like, oh my God, I couldn't get over what this other person has gone through. And then when they tell you this empty, meaningless, of course it hits you. It hits you like, oh, wait, what? But there's power in that, in realizing that every moment is regenerable for you, and that you're the one carrying all of your past into the moments that you're in. And that was kind of my inevitable takeaway from it, is that, there really isn't such a thing as the past or the future. There's no box of that out there. There is only this moment and this one. And in every one of these moments, I get to regenerate who I am. That's the beauty of what we are as human beings.
So when you wake up in the morning, every morning, I think that, and I try and do this every day, I try and think to myself, okay, my life today is empty, which gives me the ability to fill it up with whatever I choose. Nobody else, but whatever I choose. And my life is meaningless until I assign what meaning it's going to have, because it's all internal.
Yeah.
And does that make sense to you, Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the terms empty and meaningless are not 100% the way I know you're not saying that, but the way, I think empty, to the sense it's an empty vessel, but meaningless, I would say it absolutely is not meaningless. It is full of meaning, because every action we take, and even our thoughts, especially our actions, they are creating, there's this thing called the morphogenetic field, which is anything. If I say something, that's a hurtful thing to somebody, it has a vibrational effect, like, like dropping a pebble in a pond, has a vibrational effect on a lot of other people, it has a vibrational effect on the plants around me. And so that's how energy works. We're our thoughts, our words are creating resonance. But in terms of our lives, when we're deciding to unconditionally love somebody in spite of them being awful to us, that's really important, because then we've broken a pattern which may have been passed down in our bloodline from, generation to generation, of just holding resentment and grudges and being in victimhood. But then we say, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to make a different choice. That is, so we're helping our ancestors. Even though they're, we think they're gone, and they're not. Their souls are there. They may be in a human body, and part of their souls are still in the spirit realm as well. I mean, they may have already incarnated again, another human body, but we're helping them move through their karma and break patterns as well. And we're helping them find freedom and evolve and grow, so they don't have to keep incarnating over and over.
Exactly. Well, and I tell you, Brittany's doing something that I think is going to help raise the vibration of the planets. And Brittany, tell us what you're doing this summer with your summer camp for kids.
Yeah, just kind of going on what you were saying, Rachel, I completely agree with that. I think that we're also put on this planet. We're given a short amount of time, and we're the stewards of that time. And all we have to do, or what we do with that time. And I think that what we can put forward, when we come back, and if we have to come back and reincarnate and relive or relearn lessons, we can put things forward for the betterment of our future selves. I mean, so that's always constantly on my mind, the world that my child will live in and the world that his children will live in. And so I created a company that helps spread preschool piano, basically make piano accessible to preschoolers. I think that's very important. And my company is currently sponsoring summer camps that are little, I was going to call them workshops, but I realized I think a kid might not think that word is very fun. Like, oh, Mom, I just signed me up for a workshop. So I changed them to summer camps, but these are experiences for kids here in Redmond all the summers, all the weekends of the summer in July and August, that, they're all different themes. So there's science and robotics, there's magic and music, art, dance, theater, adventure, wildlife. I have 18 different subjects that each day kids will learn some really cool things, and they'll also have special guest educators from places like Seattle Astronomical Society and the King County Master Gardeners Club, Woodland Park Zoo's coming out, Seattle, or Kids Quest Robotics and Science is coming out. So we have some really, really cool special guests, and I was hoping to fill a role for people who might have really busy summer plans and couldn't do really long summer camps or couldn't commit to like week-long ones. These are one-day camps, and you can pick and choose any of the ones you want, and they're for ages 3 through 13. So siblings are definitely welcome. And then as a special thank you for working with us and for sponsoring our programs as well for Positive Talk Radio, we're running a special promotion that anyone listening to this, if you're interested, go on www.pipsqueakpiano.com and scroll down. You'll find out about it. But if you type in PT Radio at your checkout when you're checking out for the camps, that's capital P, capital T, capital radio, all of it capitalized, you'll get 20% off of the total of all of your camps.
I think it's a great deal of fun for the kids because well, Rachel, by the time summer comes and the kids get bored and they're looking for stuff to do, and in July and August, this is a great way to spend the weekend.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm a pianist myself. I took lessons for I don't know how long, 15 years. But anyway, my kids play piano, and I love what you're doing. That's so important. Music, talking about raising vibrations, such a powerful way to do that, and giving that experience to children who are the future is what a gift you're doing for them.
Thank you very much. I think that there's so many reports and scientific studies that show the benefits of piano and music education. It's one of the few things we really can prove has a link and helps people and increases scholastic ability. And yet so many people don't teach lessons to kids under the age of 8. So I decided to make it my mission to affect that and have change in that area of the world. And I'm not the only one. There's a couple other really amazing people out there, and hopefully I'll get to talk about that with Kevin in a couple weeks.
We will do that. And by the way, pipsqueakpianocompany.com, right?
It's Pipsqueak Piano without the company. So www.pipsqueakpiano, PIPSQUEAK piano.
Very good. And thank you, Brittany. You're welcome to stay with us if you want to, because the show sadly is about to end. But I wanted to make sure that, Rachel, the name of your book is?
The name of the book is Tools for the Awakening Soul, a guide to activate your intuition and uncover your life's purpose.
And you, like I, believe that we are at a crossroads in our world today, and that the vibration is being raised across the planet, and that is going to win out the day. Don't you think?
Definitely. We're on a very positive path. A lot of people are awakening. It may not seem like that, but there's a lot of hope. Just go out in nature and connect with people that are doing work like Brittany, and there's a lot of hope.
Brittany, I want you to take your kids out there to a great big tree and have them hug the tree so that they can feel the vibration of the tree.
Actually, let me tell you something
Mhm.
so cool about our nature camp where the
You got
King
30
County
seconds,
Master
kids.
Gardeners are coming in. They are going to help all of the kids not only learn to care and plant for it, but each of the kids will get to take home their own plants that they pick. So talk about the vibrations of the nature around us. We'll actually get to experience that with our campers in our camp.
Brittany from Pipsqueak Piano has been our guest, as well as Rachel. And Rachel, thank you for being here. Your website, again, is soulfulworkconsulting.com. Yeah? Right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
And I'm going to have you, I got to have you back, and I want you to drag David in with you when you come.
Sounds great. I would love it.
Well, thank you so much. And by the way, everybody, take care of one another because each other's all we've got. We'll see you Wednesday at 4 p.m.